Hello guys, today I'm with Zacari. You might have seen him on Instagram or TikTok, and this is the first LSE student that I'm interviewing. He does LSE Econ his first year, and let me just give it to him to introduce himself.
Hi guys, I'm Zacari. I'm first year LSE Econ. I've had a great time so far in London because I don't actually live here, so it's been a good time exploring the city and getting to know people from different unis, including Tanuj as well. I also do a bit of content creation on the side, and it's something that I do to inspire students who are up and coming and looking to go to universities like Cambridge, LSE, UCL, Durham, Warwick, and Imperial, of course.
Thank you so much. So today I'm going to be asking him questions about the application process for LSE Econ, his student life, and content creation, and also his future plans. So firstly, I'm going to ask him, why did you choose to study LSE Econ?
Yeah, so I think it comes from a place of skill and also a place of interest. So like the skill side is that economics is very maths based and I'm good at maths, as simple as that. And I think that any university student will tell you if they're doing econ that it's very different to A-level econ. So A-level econ is very, very qualitative. So you'll be doing a lot of essay writing, things like that. So in that sense, like the maths is a lot, kind of a step up, and it's a lot closer to further maths at A level. So that's one place, why I was interested in economics. And then from interest side, like I've always been interested in the macro economy, watching the news and things, and in businesses in general, from following business news, following business pages, things like that, for the micro side. So in general, it's like interest and skill, and a combination of that kind of led me to choose economics.
So there's a lot of econ courses in the UK. What made you choose LSE Econ particularly, and what makes LSE's Econ course different?
Yeah, I think for LSE's Econ course, it's very, I'd say it's quite maths-based, and it does go a lot more, in-depth with the theory side of things. It also gives you a lot more options, so speaking to some Cambridge people from my spring week and things like that, they always say, they have a lot more essay writing and things like that involved in their course, and for us, we barely have any, right? And me personally, I want to get more involved within, the math side of things. But yeah, in terms of depth, it does go, a lot deeper. The levels of the lecturers, the skills of the lecturers are, they're really, renowned people who've done some great things in their fields, published some great research as well. And then also, in general, the course itself is not too pressured, I'd say. We have about 8 hours of lectures a week, four classes a week of 1 hour each. Yeah, and it's very manageable as long as you keep up with it, for sure.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. I think some of the teaching staff at LSE are really renowned, and I think if you want to study econ, LSE is probably where you would get the best standard of teaching, I think. And moving on to the next question. So I know it's hard for you to say particularly, but meeting the people you've met and having gone through the application process yourself, what would you say the benchmark for getting into LSE Econ is?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think that if you're looking grades-wise, there's always platforms like Chat University and things like that, which have some data on that. I would probably say looking at my friends and things like that, it would probably be 2 A stars, 2 A's to 4 A stars, that kind of range. And if you're doing 3, it would be maths, further maths, and economics, all A stars, kind of something like that. Would kind of be the entry point. For TMUA, it's kind of varied. I personally got a bang on average score for TMUA, but I think it kind of ranges from 4 all the way to 7 and a bit, I think. And of course, if you have more, then it's going to be only beneficial.
Yeah, for internationals, you're going to need more.
Yeah. So for internationals, you will need more. And then I think generally personal statement and stuff and supercurriculars and stuff, that kind of stuff, I found that application process fairly all right. I think, in my time, I say in my time, but when I was doing my application, there wasn't a source to kind of find that kind of stuff. So it was a bit difficult to find what to do specifically, but by asking around students, I think I got a decent personal statement, and it all worked out in the end.
So following on from that, do you think the personal statement is the most important indicator for getting into LSE Econ?
Definitely not, I'll be honest. And I'm someone who's quite focused on the personal statement in my content, and I'd still say that your A-level grades are, predicted grades are by far, most important. For me personally, I applied with 4 A stars predicted, and I think that, that was kind of pivotal, to be honest. In terms of TMUA, I would also say that's quite important. I do have a few friends that got rejected for low TMUA, so making sure that you at least get 4, that's the bare minimum. and trying to get as high as you can is probably the most important parts. But then don't neglect the value of the personal statement for sure, because at the end of the day, if you don't write like suitable things, and you don't show passion for your subject, there's plenty of people that got 4A stars predicted.
Yeah.
Especially like in uni, in sixth form, where a lot of people, the teachers will kind of bump you up.
Yeah, sure.
A lot of people get that. So your distinguishing factor is not your grades, but that's kind of the bare minimum. But your personal statement really is. Yeah.
Thank you. That's really comprehensive. Now let's move on to student life. I know you touched upon it briefly, but what does a normal week look like for you at LSE?
Yeah. So as I said, like with lectures, it's 8 hours a week, 4 hours of classes a week. And so that's kind of the majority of the content kind of stuff. Around that, like probably like 2 to 3 hours a day of just like keeping up with what you've learned that day and also previous things is probably enough to keep up with the course, I'd say. And then overall, like there are other things you can go to, like the drop-in sessions for like your course, especially like in term 1, we have something called EC1P1, which is like quite a hard economics reasoning course. If you ask any LSE Econ student, they'll tell you it's a hard course, a hard module rather. But that for like things like that, there is extra support, so you can go for like an hour or 2 extra a week. Societies and things kind of revolves around that. Easy to manage, to be honest. A lot of people say like it's hard to get a social life there, but yeah, again, it's more than manageable for sure. And that's kind of a typical week for sure. And then I guess for me, like it'd be managing a bit of content creation around that, and meeting some people, doing maybe some bit of networking and a few banking events as well.
And now I'm going to ask you, there's a lot of emphasis on societies at LSE, and there's quite a few prominent ones. How would you say societies are like at LSE, and how much work would you put into them? And do you think they've been useful for you?
Yeah, so I think at LSE there's a lot of focus on like the kind of career societies, especially like the events they do outside of school, like going to like office visits, networking events, things like that, all operate through that. And later down the line there will be some like internship opportunities as well that you'll see crop up, that have originated from societies. I think like the main ones will be like BIG, the Business Investment Group, and then like Trading Society. Some slightly smaller ones would be like private equity society, groups like that. But yeah, I think it's definitely like useful to an extent. I personally didn't have like a major role. Like I was in corporate credit subcommittee for the trading society, and I was a bootcamp analyst for MVP as well, which is MVP is a student fund. Okay. So if you do want to get involved with that, then that's something that's open to you. So overall, I do think they are quite useful though. Like especially MVP, I'd say was like really useful in terms of technical training. Going into uni, if you're someone that didn't do a lot of technical training, in terms of like whether it's IB or even if you're applying for like trading things as well, it is quite valuable. Just to learn about business, basic technicals, Excel, things like that is quite useful. And then like BIG and those kind of roles is also good to kind of build your network for sure, with other top performers within LSE, who cover a range of courses, to be honest, like econ, finance, accounting, finance, management. Like there's a range of them that are really top performers in the financial world, I guess. So you can go network with those, and also on those events you get to speak with some of the biggest players in the financial space who do come to visit at LSE.
Yeah, personally, I've heard the people at BIG are some of the most crap people at LSE, so I think it would be really cool to join that. Another question, what surprised you most about LSE once you started?
Yeah, I think going into it, I'd probably say like how focused everyone actually is on careers. And I know it's a big thing. I think that's probably LSE's strong point for sure, is that the fact that they have some great financial placements, whether it's spring weeks, summers, grad roles, whatever. I think, like, obviously going in, I expected people to be talking about it a little bit at least. But from day one of Freshers Week, it was like springs. Everyone was talking about springs. No one was talking about anything else. Everyone would skip things to go do higher views. They'd skip things to do online assessments. And it was honestly, I wouldn't say people were too cagey about it. Like, as long as you have a good group of friends, you should be fine to like run that process. But yeah, it was just that it was quite intense. But if that's something you want to go down, then it's a great environment for you to make sure you get that stuff done. Because I know that, like comparing it to Cambridge, for example, because I know people there, they have like people focused on finance and they tend to do really well, but like half of them are like not so set on it, from what I've heard. So it's like if that's your goal, then this is the place to be.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think in terms of being in London and especially doing an econ course in London, I think a lot of people are particularly focused on careers, getting the spring weeks, getting the internships. So I think it's a really good environment to be if that's what your goal is, rather than the academic side of things. Another question. Well, how's the social life like at LSE?
Right, this is going to be a common misconception. The thing is that a lot of people will say that the social life is not as good as other places. I think that if you manage your time well, it should be fine. Now, I'm not a big person to, go out and, spend a lot of time, going out to parties and things like that, especially during Freshers Week. I went clubbing once, right? But I think that, honestly, if you join the right societies, you do, sports and things, and you're just a general good, cool person to know, I guess, then, I don't think you should have a problem with your social life. It's just that people tend to be more locked in, especially near the start with internships and things opening, spending a lot of time in the library till 2 a.m. But other than that, it should be fine. I don't think there's too much of a problem behind it. No.
Cool. I mean, I was going to ask you about the internship culture, but if you've added everything you've added, that's fine. Or do you have anything more to add?
I think it's all right. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay. So moving on to your spring week, I wanted to ask a bit about Jefferies. What was your application process like? How did you find it? And what was your experience applying to IBs?
Yeah, so honestly, my experience applying to spring weeks in general wasn't that great because it was a lot of applying, getting rejected. But I mean, to be honest, everyone has the same experience, right? The thing is that I got a few interviews. And the one that I actually secured the offer for was Jefferies. So the process for Jefferies was a first online assessment, right? And then the online assessment, I definitely did really well on because I ended up closing the laptop and just being overjoyed with the fact that had gone so well. There was not a single question I didn't think I got right. And then from there, it was the first round interview, which was with the investment banker actually. So they do it a very peculiar way. They do the banker technical one first. And then HR, which is very, very weird. But yeah, so that was first, and it was fairly simple, I think. They obviously asked a bit about valuation techniques and things like that. So it was good to be prepared by the societies we mentioned earlier. But then that went well. Brain teaser as well, and then moved on to the next round, which was the HR motivations test. Again, fairly simple, I'd say. And then once that was done, then I received the offer for the spring week, which was a 3-day program, and it covered pretty much everything. So it was a very rotational program across M&A, ECM, DCM, LevFin, secondary advisory. So it was good to get a good view of things and just how everything works from the people themselves working in it, a lot of VPs, and then also listening to a few MDs talk about their experiences, and it honestly sounded very interesting. And it kind of confirmed my interest in IB and particularly in ECM with their case studies and workshops they did.
Really comprehensive, thank you. And I was wondering, do you think your course prepared you well for the spring week itself going into it?
To be honest, I'd probably say no. And I think the majority of people will probably say no, you don't get taught about banking at a industry level, if that makes sense. You can understand the banking system, that's fine in macro or whatever. But I think LSE's course probably prepares you the most out of others, though. I still would say that because the fact that we got to do accounting as a module on the side, alongside all the heavy econ stuff, was definitely useful because it allowed me to understand all the stuff they were talking about when it came to Excel and IPO simulations, things like that. But then I think the majority of your time will be spent outside of that, right? You'll be doing things that are to do with very heavy banking technicals, but again, the societies can prepare you for that, so I don't think it's something to be worried about.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. We do accounting as well on our course, and I remember preparing for Jeffrey's interview as well, and I think having an understanding of the accounting beforehand and then going on to the Red Book to learn more, I think it was useful having that understanding that you develop from doing an accounting module. Okay, that was all with first year student life. Now let's move on to content creation. So Zacari posts a fair bit of content on TikTok, Instagram. So I wanted to ask, what's your motivation behind content creation?
Yeah, at first my motivation was honestly just for fun. And I think the majority of content creators just start off I'm just going to post for fun. And I want to, to have some vanity metrics, some followers, some likes. You know how it goes, right? But I think eventually we kind of all mature and realize I'm not even big yet, to be fair. But as in we all kind of get to that stage where we realize we want to build an actual audience around what we're doing. And it doesn't matter how many really followers or likes you get. It's more about is your audience some like aligned with what you want to do and like what you want to help them with and what you can help them with, basically. And so now it's kind of adding inspiration for students who are, coming up with the same process that we went through to make their time a little bit easier. But also for me to build, this new business, which is Unomics, which is like an economics kind of tuition platform, but we also do like accounting and finance and management as well. And so through that, we're helping students have a source for their supercurriculars and their personal statement, so they can get that bit sorted out, because everyone can find a tutor for A-levels, all their A-levels, everyone can find a tutor for their TMUA, no one can find a tutor for their supercurriculars, and that's why people go reaching out on LinkedIn and begging like I did, but I'm resolving that problem, yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, big up Unomics. So how far do you want to take content creation, and what do you hope to achieve?
Yeah, I think I'd like to build like a fairly big personal brand, I'd say. I think right now, the main focus is on building this platform. And to be honest, I just want to make that the go-to platform that people that people look at when it comes to securing that part of the application. Because as I mentioned, like there's not really a solution for that at the minute. And it would be a hell of a lot easier if I had a little bit of support. And especially like in our schools, and I think that, in some of my customer schools as well, they have some like support with like applications and Cambridge applications, like some specialist support, but a lot of schools don't have that. And even, in those schools, it's often not enough. So that's kind of what I want to push forward. And then generally in content creation, I want to meet great people like Tanuj, for example, right? I want to meet great content creators who are also pushing to build something for themselves, build something independently, and, are enjoying their course. And I can meet them in London as well, which is a great city.
Yeah, that's the great thing about content creation. You get to meet people that you otherwise wouldn't have. And I think it opens doors for you in terms of just finding people who can add value to whatever it is that you're trying to do. So I think that's kind of my motivation for continuing content creation. And I think that's why it's useful to start if you haven't already. And I mean, we're both early in our journeys, but what kind of advice would you give to people who are too scared to start or have a fear of being judged when they're posting content?
Okay, this is going to be a very, very simple answer, but I hope you take it well. So, okay. You have to think about, what do you actually want, right? And if you're someone that has gone to uni and said, I want to go on X career path, and I want to progress and move forward with that, it doesn't matter what it is, sales and trading, investment banking, consulting, something completely different, doesn't matter. Who am I to judge, right, what you want to do? But if you want to build something for yourself with your name on it, independently, and you want to do that and grow with it, and that's something you enjoy doing as well, then there's no way to get your face out there without putting your face out there, right? Yeah. And I think that, like, if not now, then when? And no one went from zero to notoriety with like by not posting, right? Everyone's gone through that phase. All your favorite content creators, whether they're education like us, or whether they're like fitness or whatever, to be fair, like Tanuj as well, then they've all gone through the same process. And I think it's definitely something to not be afraid of. Eventually, like maybe in the first, like, I don't know, 200 followers, you get like a fair bit of hate, or like at least like people being like, oh, why are you starting that? But eventually, like, pretty much all just dissolves, because once you've got enough support behind you, you'll have enough momentum to keep going.
Yeah, well said. I think you're going to get hate at any level. Like early on, it's probably from people closest to you, actually. But even as you get bigger, it's going to be from strangers, because now you've got that audience where anyone can kind of see your content and hate on you. But at that level, you find people who support you as well. And the people who support you is going to outnumber the amount of hate you get. And if you're truly providing value every single day, it shouldn't matter to you what a few number of people judge you for and hate on you for. So honestly, like, it shouldn't matter in your decision-making process as long as you think it's going to help you in the future. Retrospectively, what is some advice you think you could give to your younger self, I guess, with starting content and possibly growing quicker on social media?
To be honest, what advice could I not give myself, right? Like, genuinely, there's so many things. I started this journey not even doing it for myself. Like, I built a classical music page. I built a page around watches. And then I'd also done some clipping on the side, so like editing other people's videos basically for some like trading influencers, things like that. And so that's kind of how I learned to do formatting. I think the main things right off the bat is test things, right? There's some really corny videos that I have on my iMovie and things like that. Yeah, exactly, right? If you're gonna start. Like it doesn't matter what it is, and it doesn't have to be posted either. It's more just like experiment with whatever you can do. Try out editing and find the software that works for you. And eventually, once you get good at that, then you can scale and use tools like this mic, like that camera, things like that, to improve the quality of your videos. And definitely, it's more about iteration than anything.
Yeah, just to add on to that, you don't need anything fancy to start. You just need to start and post content. Like lots of the people who are famous don't have fancy cameras or fancy mics. Like they just use their phone camera and they do perfectly well. So if you're using that as an excuse not to start, it shouldn't be. And you can always improve the quality of your equipment, for example, as you perform and as you grow on social media. So that's me on that. And now, obviously, it's a long time away, but what does Zacari in 5 years look like?
Yeah, good question. I think that for me personally, I'd like to get into investment banking in equity capital markets, so working on IPOs. Should have brought my SpaceX hoodie, but yeah, like working on IPOs like is kind of what I'm interested in, what I keep up with as well. And I think on the side of that, kind of managing this tuition platform, helping students get where they need to be. And hopefully giving them that same feeling that I had when I woke up at 11 a.m. check my results, and there was the acceptance. So yeah, I think that's kind of what I want to do, business, and hopefully that role as well.
Brilliant. And you mentioned your career in the first part of your answer. Do you think your degree has prepared you, and do you think it will prepare you for what you want to do in the future?
Yeah, I think the majority of things that are, the majority of the part of the, how do I say this? The part of the course that will aid me in my particular chosen career path, which is investment banking, ECM, will be happening next year. So in second year, we have the majority of our finance modules, which are like a lot larger in size compared to like doing, half unit in accounting, for example. But I do think, regardless of that, even though I can't speak on that just yet, regardless of that, I do think like the skills of being able to like compute things, do very analytical work will definitely help for sure. Right. But it's just more right now. I'm seeing kind of the soft skills kind of thing, and as to where it will help me. Next year, it'll get a lot more technical for sure.
Brilliant. Yeah, that was everything from the interview. Thank you so much for coming on, Zacari, and it was great to speak to you. Do you have any last words?
Follow Tanuj.
Yeah, I'll drop Zacari's links in the description, so make sure to follow him as well. Let's get to 100K this summer. 100K. Bet. Let's get to 100K this summer.